So, when I was in the deepest parts of my chronic illness recovery journey, and I was bedridden with long COVID, chronic fatigue syndrome, adrenal fatigue, you name it, POTS, I was miserable. And I was constantly backing out of every plan that I made. Not that I even made that many plans because I felt like my body was constantly failing me, but on the few occasions that I did say yes to going out with a friend, or yes to a family dinner, or yes to just letting someone who loved me come over to see me for 30 minutes, my body often freaked out and I would get this huge adrenaline rush and dump. I would get really hot, then really cold, and then my heart would start beating extremely fast, and I just felt like I was going to faint if I moved. And I'm wondering if any of you have ever felt that way, right? There was something that you wanted to do, you really wanted to do it, but your body kept freaking out and you would have to back out. Maybe it was a new opportunity. Maybe it was a first date or a tough conversation that you knew you needed to have. But when the moment came to have that conversation or go out on that first date, your heart started racing and your chest got really tight and you felt really lightheaded. And then you thought, nope, I'm not doing this. I'm just going to stay here where it's safe. And then afterwards, you're left wondering, was that a trauma response or was I just uncomfortable? So I have this question come up all the time with some of the women that I work with, and I wanted to address it today. Because when you have chronic stress or burnout or fatigue or even trauma, your nervous system has been in survival mode for a very, very long time. And even good things that will make you happy, things that can make you feel safe, can feel threatening. So let's talk about how your body can tell the difference between discomfort and actual danger, and why that line can get really blurry sometimes. So your nervous system has a main job, and that is to keep you alive, not to help you grow, not to help you keep that job, not to help you nail that first date, not to keep you doing all the things you love or want to do, not to help you even make new friends or meet your goals, but to survive. And to do that, your nervous system is constantly scanning for anything that feels even remotely unsafe, whether that is physically, emotionally, even chemically, like the foods that you eat. And I don't mean unsafe in a necessarily a logical way, but in a felt way. So we're not looking at facts here, we're looking at patterns, right? When we're talking about the nervous system, body sensations, tone of voice, facial expressions, the last time that you felt this exact kind of unease. Because when your brain is assessing for a threat, not only does it get triggered really quickly, it goes back into the recesses of your memory, pulls out any relatively similar situation, compares the two, and then reacts similarly. So let's say, for example, you were dismissed a lot when you were growing up. Or maybe your boundaries were ignored in previous relationships. Maybe you lived with a chronic illness and you learned to monitor every single signal in your body, everything for signs of a flare-up. Hello, that was me. Me for a very long time. So now you start to do something very neutral, right? Maybe you're joining a book club, or you're responding to an email or a text message, or you're just trying to rest at the end of the day without checking your inbox. And what happens? Your body starts to panic, right? In that moment of quiet and stillness. Your heart races, your mind, your thoughts start to spiral, your muscles get really tense. You feel like something's wrong, but you're sitting there trying to do nothing, right? The thing is, there's actually nothing wrong. Your system just hasn't learned the difference between familiar tension and a very real present day threat. So it's kind of like that internal smoke alarm is going off when you toast bread. There's no fire, right? There's no fire in the vicinity, but the alarm is going off anyway. And that's not because it's broken, but because it's sensitive. And maybe it had to be sensitive for a very long time. So when that happens, your body can treat a new situation or even something mildly similar or mildly stressful like a threat, like a fire that's blazing. And it's not to be dramatic, it's trying to keep you safe, right? It's doing what it was designed to do. It just doesn't know that in that moment, it is safe. So if you've lived through trauma, through medical gaslighting, through religious shame, through toxic relationships, anything that made you question those internal cues, then yeah, your body is going to be on high alert constantly. But you can rewire that. Your brain is beautiful, it is strong, and it is neuroplastic. And you can start to notice what's truly dangerous and filter that from what is just unfamiliar to your nervous system. So what does that actually look like? How can you tell the difference in your body between real danger and discomfort that is safe to stretch into, to relax into? So telling the difference between danger and discomfort is a part of growth, right? And I know it can be difficult because they can feel very similar, especially when we've been stuck in that survival mode for a long time, but they show up differently in the body. So danger will shut you down, right? Discomfort is something that might wake you up a little, give you some anxiety or some excitement, but with nerves, right? It can feel activating, but not like you're about to fall apart or like your world is ending. So let's look at some real life examples to kind of tell the difference between danger and discomfort. So discomfort might look like you starting to finally speak up in a group of women when you are used to making yourself really small and being the quiet one, or maybe eating something outside of your safe list, right? Even though your body wants to try it. Or it can be resting at 2 p.m. and doing nothing productive, right? Even though that inner critic, that little monster in the back of your head starts chattering away and telling you you have to do something all of the time, right? Your body might tense up in these circumstances, but you are still present. So that is discomfort and not danger. So danger feels like you are in a space where your boundaries are being pushed. Someone is threatening you. Someone is ignoring your no when you try to set a firm boundary. Maybe you feel that familiar sense of collapse, like your voice is gone, but you can't move, you're freezing up, you can't act. Or your heart might race, your stomach gets really upset, and everything in you is screaming, not this again, right? It is absolute, undeniable fear and dread. And what most people miss is that a freeze isn't always a hard no, right? Sometimes it's maybe if I feel safer. Freeze is your body saying, hey, I need more information. It's protective, but it's also adaptable. And once your system starts to feel supported, you can revisit that moment with more clarity. So if you freeze in response to something new, try not to immediately assume that it's danger, right? Check in, ask yourself, do I feel unsafe, or is this just unfamiliar territory? Do I need to pause, or can I gently move forward with some support? That is the kind of nervous system fluency that we're building here, because our nervous system, like I said, it doesn't just speak English, right? Like our nervous system wants signs and signals and safety cues. So we have to start to speak its language. So now when you have these moments, what do you actually do? When you are unsure, when you are trying to figure out if you should push through, if you should pull back, you don't want to cause a flare-up, you don't want to cause a worse freeze state. So let's talk about how to gently move into a bit of discomfort without ignoring what your body really needs and throwing yourself into one of these push-crash cycles. So we don't want to force ourselves to do the hard thing before we're ready. And we also don't need to avoid every single uncomfortable feeling forever, because if we do that, that's how we stay stuck in that freeze state. We won't come out of it unless we gently start to challenge our own boundaries, our own thresholds, right? Our own window of tolerance. And let's talk about how to find that. So sometimes the body says no when it's just never experienced something before, right? It doesn't know what to expect. It doesn't mean the thing is necessarily wrong. It's just unfamiliar. So maybe you finally set a boundary with a close friend of yours and they push back. You feel really shaky, you feel anxious, you feel guilty, right? But that doesn't mean that the boundary was wrong. It means that your nervous system is adjusting to something new. So what do I always say? I always say to get curious. Get curious. Ask, is this stretching me? Is this stretching my tolerance, or is this violating me? right? So the answer will usually feel quiet, but it's normally very firm too. When we talk about healing and moving forward in our journeys, we don't need to leap into it, right? We don't want to take these huge jumps and huge strides forward. Just small steps, right? Start with what feels maybe 5 to 10% uncomfortable, not something that's 95% out of your comfort zone. So when we take those small 5 to 10%, that is going to build tolerance without severely setting off that smoke alarm that we talked about. So maybe you join a support group and you just listen for the first time. Like you hop in our Discord or some of our live calls and you don't participate. And that's totally okay, right? Just listen, just hang back and listen, right? Maybe you eat 2 or 3 bites of a new food alongside something familiar. So for me, when I was recovering from that bedridden phase, I was down to like 6 or 7 foods that I could eat. Everything else was giving me allergic reactions. So when I wanted to reintroduce a new food, I would take 1 or 2 bites and then eat the rest of a normal meal. When your body sees that nothing bad happens or nothing severe happens, it starts to rewire safety and think, hey, that food is safe. Hey, this experience is safe. Hey, this group is safe. Let's go a little bit further. Right? Once everything is over, notice how you feel when you try something new. Do you feel happy? Do you feel excited, relaxed? Do you feel proud of yourself? Maybe you feel relieved, right? You're stretching in a way that's making you stronger. But also pay attention and see if you feel dissociated. Maybe you feel weak, shaky. Maybe you feel emotionally, you feel like you've abandoned yourself. Post-experience reflection is one of your greatest tools. Listening to your mind, your body, your spirit, everything is going to teach you what is actually helpful, what is going to help you move forward, and what is pushing you too far, right? So it's okay to get it wrong sometimes, right? It's trial and error when we're in the first stages of trying to reconnect our mind and our body, and when we're trying to rebuild that connection and learn to speak its language. So you don't have to get it perfect all the time. Just try to listen to your body and what it is telling you in the moment. So let's wrap up with what I really, really want you to carry forward, especially if you have been stuck in a season where every single decision feels like a tug of war between your mind and your body. So I want you to remember, you don't have to panic every time discomfort shows up. Your body is trying to relearn what is safe and what isn't. And a part of that process means testing boundaries gently, gradually, without pushing and forcing it, right? So some of these things might feel very scary, but they still might be right for you. Some things might be really oddly comfortable and still feel harmful. So that's why the goal isn't necessarily to get it perfect. It is to stay in a relationship with yourself, to keep that mind and that body connected, where they are consistently communicating back and forth and back and forth. So your main thing is to stay curious. You can stretch, but you don't have to snap, and you can pause, but you don't have to stay stuck there forever. Everything comes in cycles and phases, and you aren't weak for hesitating. You are smart, you are wise, and you are intelligent for noticing what your body is telling you. And now you have some tools to explore what's behind that feeling without judgment. So if you are craving more support as you learn to feel safe in your body again, I would love to invite you to The Garden, which is our free online community. Inside, you're going to find a lot of calming nervous system tools. We host gentle workshops, and we have other women in there who are walking through the same healing process. So there's no pressure. You don't have to say anything if you join. You can just be in a space where your body and your boundaries are respected. And you can also head to our website for free somatic guides, for mini practices, for blog posts. All of this is designed to help you gently stretch into safety without overwhelming your system. So you don't have to navigate this alone. We are happy to be here for you, and we will see you in the next episode.